23rd day of the month of September.
In an early year of a decade not too long before our own,
the human race suddenly encountered a deadly threat to its very existence. And this terrifying enemy surfaced.
as such enemies often do,
In the seemingly most innocent
and unlikely of places.
On this week's episode of
Remakes,
What Were They Thinking?
We finish out our June theme, movies made into musicals.
We compare the 1960 original black and white version of The Little Shop of Horrors to the 1986 musical Little Shop of Horrors. We generally use props when we're comparing the films.
Visuals.
Yes, it helps you follow along with what version we're talking about. So, what do we have this week? Did we bring back the dolls?
No, sadly, those bitches are on vacation without us.
So what do we have then?
Well, I worked very hard to figure out what we could use and spent a good 20 minutes digging around in the junk drawer.
We've got a great production department,
We
folks.
do.
What do we have? Show me.
So, representing the 1960 Audrey Jr., we have our very own cheap-looking Audrey.
I love it.
That's how cheap it was in the movie. And in representing 1986 musical Audrey 2, we have this Audrey.
That looks like a Brussels sprout.
It is a Brussels sprout. It smells like one too.
I like it. It works.
It works, yeah. Okay, so quickly, before we start and dive into this episode, last week we put out a question to our friend Kim because we thought she said she saw the Broadway musical of Mame, but it turns out she actually saw Little Shop of Horrors on stage. So we look forward to hearing about it from her and getting our information.
And also, if you have a program still in your stuff, share that. We'd love to see
So we
it.
apologize that we were expecting to have answers for Mame. But nonetheless, so onward we go.
And what's the plot for Little Shop of Horrors?
Well, our plot is always pretty simple. We follow a story of flower shop worker Seymour, who's kind of a klutz, and he works at Mushnick's flower shop in Skid Row.
Now, Skid Row is a place where people live that are in poverty. They're poor, and they're usually people forgotten by society.
So Seymour, being the nerd that he is, discovers this sort of fly trap, but he can't identify it in any of his science books. And, the plant starts to die. So then he realizes that the only way to keep this little thing alive is by feeding it human blood. Whoops.
Hey, did you know that this story could have been based on 3 stories about man-eating plants?
You mean there are real man-eating plants out there?
No, stories about 1905 by H.G. Wells, The Flowering of the Strange Orchid. 1932, there was a story called Green Thoughts, about a man-eating plant. In 1956, there was a story called The Reluctant Orchid.
Interesting.
Right?
So before we talk about the characters, I think it's important that we talk about the production behind the 1960 original The Little Shop of Horrors.
And it's really exciting because this cult classic was filmed on a shoestring budget. They used leftover sets from a horror picture that the crew made called Bucket of Blood. So they still had the sets, and the film was made in 3 days. They had, first off, 3 days of rehearsal, then 2 days of filming inside, and 1 night of filming outside. And that cost them between $28,000 or $34,000 for all of that work.
Which today would be about...
$250,000 is what they figure. And that's still cheap. And
the film is good!
it is. It is actually really good.
I would watch this again and again over Cheaper by the Dozen.
And I do recommend that you watch it in black and white. They have
Yes.
colorized it. But if you really want to go for the classic touch, watch it in black and white.
It's on Prime, folks.
The screenwriter for the original picture was Charles Griffith. And he also featured the voice for Audrey. That's important to know.
Feed me, I am hungry.
Yes. He had a couple other roles
You
too.
would have thought he'd do a better job.
The director was Roger Corman, and he was very well known for these pictures. And I've been instructed to watch a documentary on him because he was very prolific. There were some people that started their careers working with him. James Cameron, Francis Ford Coppola, Ron Howard, Martin Scorsese. So he was something. Okay. So who was the genius behind making this into a musical?
Geniuses, and that would be Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. Yes, they did sell their souls to Disney, but they created Little Shop of Horrors based on the cult classic that Anne just described. So, I want to point out the reason why the 1986 film musical is fantastic from start to finish is because Ashman wrote the screenplay and Menken supervised and did whatever he needed to for the music. This is why this film musical works. And the genius who brought everyone together and directed the film was dear old Frank Oz. That's right, the voice of Miss Piggy and Fozzie. So, this is why a film musical like Little Shop of Horrors works. Unlike Mame. Let's talk characters.
Good. How about we start with 1960?
Absolutely. So Seymour Krelborn was basically a klutz.
He tripped over everything, no matter what he was doing.
It was almost annoying.
Yeah, he had ideas, I think. He had a mother, too, who was an alcoholic.
And a hypochondriac, which was just weird. Because
I didn't connect with him so much, his character, the way he was portrayed.
No. Whereas in the 1986 version, he is an orphan, and he was in and out of orphanages, gets the job at Mushnick's flower shop.
He was more of a tragic character.
Very much tragic. So he was portrayed by our own loving film nerd, Rick Moranis. So another typecast. Mm-hmm. But, like, your heart goes out to him.
Yeah, you worry about him. You care about him.
He really wants to leave Skid Row. And he's doing whatever he can to do that. Whereas, I don't know, this was the only 1960, was a little weak, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Underdeveloped.
Underdeveloped, indeed.
Underdeveloped.
Yep.
Let's talk about the plant.
Okay, so in the 1960 original, we have Audrey Jr.
The plant opens up at sunset.
So he opens up and says, "Feed me! I'm hungry!" Literally like that. Like, seriously.
Really
it's a little bit disappointing. But the 1960 Audrey Jr. also hypnotizes Seymour. So Seymour's like, must feed the master.
But you know what I find interesting? I don't see that Seymour is afraid of the plant in this picture.
No.
Not at all.
He also...
and the plant is annoying. The plant doesn't know when to shut up.
He doesn't. And he also, like, kills a bunch of random people. Like,
Four people.
There's a drunk. I accidentally hit a rock and now he's dead.
He's on the train track. Oh, good. Food for Audrey.
Oh, look. Here's a woman
Streetwalker.
She
Hit her with on the head. Food for Seymour to take back to Audrey.
Here's a robber coming into my flower shop. Oh, the money's in the plant. Food for Audrey. He's just like, he has no remorse over
people.
Yeah, no remorse, and doesn't realize that he's a murderer until the end.
When the cops come.
Yeah. But even so, when the cops come, spoilers, he like jumps in the plant and tries to kill it and then ends up being eaten. And the one thing I will say is really cool about Audrey Jr.
Can I tell about that? There's new buds that grow on the plant. And each bud, when it opens up, it has the face of each of the people that Audrey has eaten. That's cool.
I mean, that was awesome.
Campy, but cool.
But
We
like
liked
awesome,
it.
nonetheless.
Let's talk about Audrey too.
All right, so the 1986 musical version, Audrey 2 is voiced by Levi Stubbs of the Four Tops. Like, already you're
How
off
cool
to
is
an
that?
awesome start, okay? So we don't really hear Audrey 2 talk until, like, the plant is, like, bigger.
Huge, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, he does the whole
Feed me Seymour.
Sort of like that. But he's like, feed me, I'm starved. And it's, feed me. It doesn't have to be human. Feed me. Where am I supposed to get it? And like Rick Moranis is all like, what? I can't kill people. And Audrey, she was like, hey, I'm your genie. I'm your friend. I'm your willing slave. And it's just like,
so they really gave character to this plant. This plant became somebody.
And it's like the entire time, like Seymour's like, I don't want to kill people.
I was afraid of the plant. Were you afraid of the plant?
I mean, like my first time seeing the movie when I was young.
I mean, it ends up bigger than the room, and the plant's arms or stems end up being used like arms, and that's frightening. The way it can close the door or make a phone call. That's scary stuff. Let's talk about Audrey.
Okay.
1960 version.
Very basic.
Just basic shop girl, did the job, was sweet, was kind, didn't see any really chemical
becomes obsessed
attraction.
with Seymour.
Yeah, I didn't see the chemistry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 1986 musical Audrey. So
Amazing.
Ellen Greene, who debuted the role and basically created Audrey and the persona and everything, reprised her role for the movie. This is rare, people. Okay, another reason why I love this musical film is because they took the Broadway actress or off-Broadway actress and put her in the role that she's supposed to be.
They knew it worked. So
none of this bullshit with Russell Crowe and Les Mis.
Another time. So the character in this one, she's very sweet, very timid because she's got an abusive boyfriend.
Yes.
The dentist in the picture is her boyfriend.
And we will talk about the dentist momentarily.
Right. So there she is. She's naive. She's sweet. She's kind.
You don't meet nice guys on Skid Row.
And
Mr. Mushnick.
she secretly has a thing for Seymour, and Seymour secretly has a thing for her.
But I could never be with him.
I know she's just the little thing with a great voice. She's great singing, great voice. All right, let's talk about the dentists in the film.
So I want to point out the fact that in both versions, there are two completely different personalities.
Yes.
So let's start with the 1960 version.
Okay, so this dentist, he was basic. He did his job. He did have an addiction to giving pain. That was a common theme in both pictures. He ordered flowers for his shop once a week from Mushnick's, which was kind of different.
He felt that his shop needed to look a certain way since he was dealing with patients from Skid Row. And he always talked about Skid Row. He's like, I'm the dentist of Skid Row.
So he's trying to make himself seem better than what he is.
Exactly. And Seymour is one of his clients.
Right.
And Seymour goes to him because he has a toothache.
But before that, his patient was Jack Nicholson. That was his starting off point there. And he played the patient that was addicted to pain.
Addicted to it. Whereas in the 1986 musical, so Audrey is dating the dentist, and he not only loves giving pain to his patients, he is obsessed with the laughing gas. So the gas isn't for his patients, it's for me. And
he's abusive. He's angry person.
Gives Audrey a broken arm, a shina.
I thought it was interesting though when he had a patient that came in that liked to have pain. That was Bill Murray. He seemed threatened by someone else that wanted the pain. I love how Bill Murray was getting ready for his appointment. He put the thing on, he put the stuff in his mouth. The character was great. I like what they do with the character.
Orgasm while he's getting the pain. I mean,
it was great. It was great.
So in both versions, the dentist gets fed to Audrey 2 or Audrey Jr. So starting with the 1960 version, we know that Seymour goes to visit the dentist because he has a toothache and he's really annoying about it.
He is.
So he's squirming in the chair, as was she when she was watching it. And so the dentist goes, "Oh, you wanna play, do you?" And he pulls one of the instruments and starts going, "On guard!"
This is kind of a dueling action right there.
And then ends up like killing himself with his,
which wasn't really clear, but we have to say, okay, so he was killed. We'll accept it.
So Seymour goes, "Oh no, I did it again," and then feeds him to the plant. Like, okay, very basic. Whereas in the 1986 musical, Audrey 2 convinces Seymour that, Oh, gee, I don't know who you can, like, murder and feed to me. Oh,
How
wait.
about this bad person?
The guy sure looked like plant food to me. The guy sure looked like plant food to me. And all, you know, and then he's so nasty, treating her rough, talking all around. So long story short, Seymour goes for a dentist appointment, has a revolver, which doesn't know how to use, okay? He looks really pathetic holding a gun, and points the gun at the dentist, and Steve Martin goes like, well, what did I ever do to you? And he's like, it's not what you did to me, it's what you did to her. And he's like high on gas.
He's got the laughing gas apparatus
and he goes,
on him.
her who takes one last breath, dies. And then like Seymour gets
like,
off the subway with this dead body.
That was hilarious. He's got the body's in a bag. And
y'all, if I was on the subway and I saw some
down the stairs,
like seriously, there are like cops on the subway. How come no one stopped
the
him?
shape looks like a body.
Okay,
That's the one part that's hilarious. I love that.
chops him up and feeds him to the plant.
Well, you know me. I like to talk about the music of a film, whether it's a musical or not.
Y'all, my little plant is breaking. We better hurry this up.
So, 1960, The Little Shop of Horrors was not a musical.
No.
But it had a music score, which was composed by Fred Katz, who actually was a jazz cellist. I'm a new fan. Now, there was also this eerie underlying music that was arranged and written by Ronald Stein. He was not credited, but he went on to compose that style of music for like 76 B or C horror pictures. So that's important to know. So like I said, the music just kind of set a tone. Now, whereas in the 1986 musical, what did the music do in that one? It helped tell the story.
Because it's a musical. I'm going to be completely honest here, okay? I don't like musicals. I very much dislike them. I know, the opera singer who sings like Mozart and Verdi and everything hates musicals. I think maybe there's only like half a dozen I adore. And Little Shop of Horrors is one of them. From start to finish, the music is fantastic. If I could give up everything to just be Audrey on stage for one day and say, suddenly Seymour is standing beside you, I'd be so happy, okay?
You'd be great.
I would be great. I'd be freaking incredible. Okay, I mean, maybe that's on my bucket list, okay? But nonetheless, it's just fantastic music. What'd you think?
I loved it. I mean, I wanted to sing along with that song as well when it was playing. And I love the trio of the
Yes.
doo-wop singers.
So we have the doo-wop trio, Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon, and they are like the Greek chorus. They help narrate the story. They kind of like get in the middle of things.
Come in and leave.
They're
and
the
it's
girls
just-
of Skid Row.
It's perfect. What
Fantastic.
a great idea they added on.
Yeah.
That really worked.
Yep.
And Seymour's voice, you know, he was fine. It
Rick
was like-
Moranis, he's great.
It was fine.
Yeah.
It was very tight.
Indeed.
Very tight musical.
Indeed. So it's time to wrap things up. In conclusion, we loved both of the films and
Both of them.
found a lot of interesting information about both of them. So where can we go to find that?
I'll be adding it to chatterboxdivas.blogspot.com.
All right. So folks, read her blog. So here's the plan for the next few weeks. So we're heading into July. Anne and I have not had a break since New York State went on pause/shelter in place. So since mid-March, we have been bringing you week by week new remakes episodes. So we've decided that next week there will be no episode.
We're going to take a staycation with the dolls.
We're going on staycation with the dolls, okay?
Yes.
So our plan for July is Christmas in July.
We'll have 2 episodes. We're going to watch 2 Christmas films and their remakes. We'll let you know when we've got the idea. So, until then.
As always, folks, we're still doing great in New York, so keep masking up and sanitize.
We love you. Stay healthy. And watch some films. Let us know what you've been watching. We'll see you in a bit, okay?
Bye, folks.
Bye.